Today is the first day of the first month of the Christian year 2014. On this day, Christians all over the world say goodbye to the old year and greet the new one with fun and merrymaking. So this is what people do, each according to their own religion. People do this at the end of the old year, beginning of the new. People have come here from all continents of the world. There are certainly Asians, people from the Asian continent, and from Europe, from whether any are here from Africa, Sayadaw does not know. But from the American continents, from Australia. So certainly there are people from almost all the places in the world. And each country that we come from has its own traditional religion. But we have put this, our tradition, behind to walk this path of Dhamma. The path of Dhamma, the path of Satipatthana, is not within any religion. It's not opposed to any religion. It's something different from religion. If we walk this path of peace, we will gain benefits such as purity of mind, as it said, Satanan Visuddhiya, Ekayano Mago. This is the sure path to purification of the beings. It's not worship of an individual, but in fact, over 2,500 years ago in India, the Buddha became completely pure, free of kilesas, and he came to know this Dhamma. And wanting others to gain purity, he taught. So he knew for himself, and then he taught. He didn't just make things up. And people who can reflect on what is beneficial and what isn't, on what is suitable and what is unsuitable, have come to walk this path of Dhamma, cherishing it and gaining the benefits. For most people of the world, every time they encounter an object that is good or bad, their minds shake to an uncontrollable extent. If in general, if people encounter an object that is very enticing, that causes lust, then people will shake with this greed. And it can even lead to the movements of transgression. It can shake one to that extent. And when one meets up with something that is not to our liking, the result is anger. Anger shakes the mind. And that too can lead to transgressions. Due to ignorance or stupidity, these factors also shake the minds of beings. This factor of ignorance is present almost all the time. And there are others. These three are the main ones. But of course, there's also mana or pride, and envy, jealousy. In essence, it is these three: lobha, dosa, and moha. Greed, hatred, and delusion, which are always shaking the minds of beings from the moment they wake up until the moment they fall asleep. There's no quiet. And this is what happens for most beings in the world. The Buddha himself lived countless lifetimes in samsara. The number of lifetimes he spent fulfilling the paramis was not small, and before that he spent innumerable lifetimes as a common worldling, a Putujana. As a Putujana, he didn't know that raga, dosa, and moha created agitation. He didn't know that they burned. Moths fly around a lamp or flame at night, only to lie dead below the lamp in the morning. Just like this, when the Buddha was a Putujana, he didn't know that kilesas cause death. While the Buddha was fulfilling the paramis, the fires of raga, lust, dosa, anger, and moha, delusion, still burned in his mind. But he had the ability to reflect on what is beneficial and what is not, and on what is suitable and what is unsuitable. Therefore, he knew that just as these fires of the mental defilements, the kilesas, have a cause, there must also be a way to put these fires out. He searched for a way to put them out. He fulfilled the paramis, such as dana, generosity, time and again over many lifetimes. Finally, he found the way. While he was practicing the trainings of sila, samadhi, and panya, that is, morality, concentration, and wisdom, the kilesas, or mental defilements, were being quelled, calmed, and at the end of his practice, they died down completely. The Dhamma, which he himself practiced, is what he taught. It is not something which he invented or thought up. The Buddha himself experienced the kilesas of raga, dosa, and moha, and he knew that they are always disturbing and agitating, shaking one. And he knew that because of this, one suffers. He knew too that there must be a way to end this suffering. And therefore he searched for a method to eliminate suffering. Santo so bhagawa Santo so bhagawa samataya tamang deseti. So the Buddha that is revered by the monks and others, he had this quality of being santo. Santo means to be peaceful. So most beings, whatever object they encounter, they shake with either greed, lobha, or anger, dosa, or moha, delusion. Shaking and moving, they're like a monkey. The mind is like a monkey that is never resting. It never comes to a rest because it is always shaking due to the kilesas. But when practicing the method of satipatthana, first of all, keeping basic sila, the gross kilesas are being eliminated. They are being quelled. They are no longer shaking us. And when the object arises and we observe it, we make the effort to observe it with effort and aim, then kilesas don't enter the mind. And sati sticks to the object, protecting the mind, creating a blockade and making the mind secure. Therefore, the mind becomes calm. Because of making effort to observe the object, whenever there's virya, the mind, their samadhi will follow. So the mind falls collectedly on the object. If virya occurs many times, then there will be many times that samadhi occurs. So the mind will stick to the object. The mind will fall collectedly on the object. With samadhi, the mind doesn't move due to wanting to experience good things. It won't be shaken by thoughts of wanting to gain what other people have, or by thoughts of anger, or by ignorance. So the mind will become calm and quiet. So the yogis now are practicing this method, and with every second of making aim and effort, there are 60 times, there's one time of the mind becoming calm, becoming quiet. If there are 60 notings in a minute, then there will be 60 times of the mind becoming quiet. And if only one every other second, then there will be at least 30 moments per minute. So with basic sila being kept, then our physical and verbal behavior is pure. It's becoming cultivated and refined, lovable, gentle. And with this as our basis, the mind can become stable. With effort, sati and samadhi, virya, sati, samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, we have a truly human attitude, truly human mentality. With aiming, the mind doesn't go anywhere else. It stays with the object. And aiming makes the mind fresh. It doesn't shrink or wither. It becomes fresh and open. When the mind becomes concurrent with the object, so that it connects with the object from beginning to end, then we know the true nature. And when knowledge arises, the anusaya kilesas, the ones that lie dormant, are being quelled. In that moment, they are dying down. This is called santa, or peace. The Buddha himself practiced this way. And when he developed Vipassana knowledge stage by stage, finally, the path knowledge of arahantship arose and eliminated all the kilesas for once and for all. And this is santa. This is what is meant by peace. The one who is peaceful, free of the movement of raga, greed, lobha, anger, dosa, and the other kilesas, this peaceful one is the Buddha who taught the Dhamma. The Buddha himself, in his lifetimes, if greed or anger or delusion became very strong in him, then for sure he would have stolen, he would steal. These things, for sure in his past lifetimes, these happened. That either due to extreme greed, he stole or committed adultery and other similar misdeeds, or lied in order to gain his own benefit. And for sure, when he lacked metta or consideration for others and was motivated by extreme anger, for sure he killed. For sure he committed acts out of envy, wanting to harm others, or lied out of anger. And for sure there were instances where he did not know what was right and what was wrong, and therefore did the wrong thing. So this was certainly the case for him. While he was fulfilling his paramis, these tendencies still arose in his mind. The tendencies towards greed and anger and delusion. But he controlled himself so as not to commit transgressions, either with moral shame and moral fear, hiri and ottappa, or with the understanding of feeling of sympathy for others, consideration. By whatever means, he avoided doing these things, and he was therefore free of physical and verbal misdeeds and gained purity. So when one practices the path of sila, one gains of restraining one's physical and verbal behavior, one gains physical and verbal purity. And this is the quality of the Dhamma, that it is well preached. It brings results that match the practice that is done. So even before the Buddha became enlightened, he developed metta. He practiced satipatthana, observing the rising and falling with effort and accurate aim, so that the mind would stick to the object. And when these moments of mindfulness became, effort and mindfulness became continuous, then there was no more desire to harm, no more desire to act on greed. So at this time, the mental tendencies to do wrong were being eliminated. Sila, when our sila is complete, when we keep sila, then we are a true human being. And when one can observe the arising object with effort, mindfulness, and concentration, then one's mind, one's mental attitude becomes truly human. When knowledge arises, then the kilesas are being quelled. So the kilesas become calm. They're quieted down. And then finally this fire is put out. The Buddha knew for himself, and after knowing for himself, he taught. Our refuge, the Buddha, only after making himself peaceful, only after becoming free of this movement due to the kilesas of raga, dosa, and moha, with which most ordinary people shake all the time. He became free of this movement and was peaceful. And only after making himself peaceful did he teach with great compassion and with knowledge of how to preach. So he taught the trainings of sila for overcoming the transgressive defilements, the training of samadhi for making the mind stable and clean, and for developing panya, the training of panya, for developing knowledge. When one walks this path, one will know for oneself. One will gain the results for oneself, and one will know for oneself what the true quality is of the Buddha. So, instead of saying goodbye to the old year with merrymaking, and saying goodbye to the old and greeting the new with merrymaking and the usual pleasures, here we are greeting it with cleanliness and purity. And this is something that is good for us, and it's good for others too. As beings in the world, we too are likely to have done these things, to greet the old, say goodbye to the old year and say hello to the new year with drinking and other things that lead to many fatalities. Many people die at this time of year due to the holiday partying. But now we don't have this danger. We are free of this. The Buddha himself, while he was walking the path of Satipatthana, he had to work to eliminate the gross kilesas, the medium grade kilesas, and the refined kilesas. And only after he himself became free of their disturbance, after he became peaceful, did he teach the Dhamma which he practiced. This is what is meant by santo. Santo means only after he became peaceful. So why did he teach the Dhamma? What purpose did he have in mind? It is said samataya, santo so bhagava samataya dhammam deseti. He taught the Dhamma so that the beings would know how to eliminate the shaking of the kilesas so that they could become free of this, so that they could become peaceful, samataya. He didn't have the aim of creating a following, making people worship him. He didn't have that in mind. In the text it is said that it is described that how he became peaceful himself and then taught this way to peace. And this is the way in which we are saying goodbye to the old year and greeting the new now. With the training of sila, overcoming the transgressive behavior. With the training of samadhi, making the mind clean and stable. And with the development of knowledge. This is the way we are greeting the new year. And those who cherish the practice, every second of the time, they're saying goodbye to the old and greeting the new with these three trainings. So the Buddha didn't the Buddha did not have in mind to create a group of people who worshipped him. He didn't teach because he wanted people to admire him. And Sayadaw also, he's not dispensing this from above. The Buddha taught this path, and he showed that this is the path, and if we follow it, we will find the peace that he himself found through practicing this. So this is the type of person the Buddha was. So the people of the world, according to their customs, greet the old year with merrymaking, greet the new year with merrymaking. But the yogis here, practicing the Dhamma of Satipatthana, are greeting the old, are saying goodbye to the old year and greeting the new with physical, verbal, and mental purity. And this isn't just something to do on one day. Every day, yogis are saying goodbye to the old and greeting the new. Saying goodbye to the old day and greeting the new day with physical, verbal, and mental purity. So Sayadaw hopes that just as it is said, Santo so bhagava samataya dhammam deseti, the Buddha became peaceful himself, free of the movement of raga, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, and delusion. And this is the way in which we are saying goodbye to the old year and greeting the new now. With the training of sila, overcoming the transgressive behavior. With the training of samadhi, making the mind clean and stable. And with the development of knowledge. So And he taught the Dhamma with great compassion and knowledge about how to preach, so that we too could become peaceful. So Sayadaw hopes that we, in this fashion, we will be able to be able to make calm the kilesas which cause so much shaking and movement in our lives. May you be able to quell them, make them calm, make them peaceful, and become very, very peaceful people. So may you be able to try to do this. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu.